Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to lecture 6 of chapter 1b. We are still in the large introduction chapter, and the second part, the 1b part, is fracture, fatigue and creep. As usual, we will start with quickly reviewing what we covered in the last lecture, lecture 5, and then today we will continue our discussion of creep. We will talk of creep failure, of creep test. We will do an example on creep test. Then we will do the creep rupture test. We will move on to Larson-Miller parameter and do some examples about it. And hopefully we will cover a little bit about alloys for high temperature. So let us quickly review what we did last time. We started with fatigue life calculations, starting with the two basic equations, the dAdn equation, the Paris-Erdogan law, and the K1 equation. K1 is sigma root pi a and so on, and using the K1 equation to get the delta K stress intensity range, combining the equations together so that we get a combined equation for dAdn, and then integrating this equation by separating dA on one side, dN on one side. So when you integrate dN from 0 to nf, number of cycles to failure, then you get number of cycles to failure on one side. You send all the other things to the other side, and you integrate dA, the crack size, from A0 initial crack size to final crack size AF. And therefore, this remarkable equation, which is the number of cycles to failure in terms of the initial and the final crack size, the constant A and M of the Paris law, which are material properties, y is the geometry factor, delta sigma is the fluctuating maximum to minimum stress range, and the other things are numbers. Then we did a long example on that, and even though I say myself, but if you understand this one example very correctly, then you can do a lot of other practice, but if you really thoroughly understand it, then you know how to apply the fatigue life equation, number of cycles to failure. And the important things here were that this was a fluctuating tensile to compressive load, and we reminded ourselves that one very important thing is that the compressive loads are good for crack. They close down the crack. So in the crack extension, in the crack propagation, we use only the tensile loads. That was one important thing. And the second is that in the equation, because the equation is derived based on delta K, the stress intensity range, therefore it is not sigma but delta sigma that we use in the equation. So these two were the critical things in the NF equation. And in the K1 equation, that when we want to make K1 as K1C, then the sigma there should be the maximum tensile sigma. So with this we solved it, and of course we got for example here 2.8 million cycles roughly, and so on, right? So this is what we did. Then we started a totally different topic, unrelated to stress intensity and so on, creep and stress rupture. We defined that, you see, when stresses are there constantly for a long time, and especially if they are at an elevated temperature, then what happens to the material is known as creep, and then there is a creep rate and so on. And just like other things where fracture is there is primary and secondary and tertiary creep. And here we showed you a strain on the vertical axis, time on the horizontal axis, primary creep, secondary creep, tertiary creep. We again showed you in more detail primary, secondary and so on in terms of the increase of the slope or decrease of the slope, or the slope being a constant line. So when the slope is the constant region, when the slope is in the constant region, then this is called the steady state creep rate of the material. We talked more about it. We gave you an example of a jet engine turbine blade which has failed due to creep rupture, that there is cyclic loading, yes, but at the same time there is temperature and the load is applied for a long time. we told you that if the temperature is increasing, then the creep strain will be higher and so on, right. So, we discussed, and here we showed both the things, that if the applied stress is more, the creep will be more, and if the temperature is more, the creep will be more. Then in the secondary creep, which is the important region, the straight line region, right. Secondary creep is the straight line region for the material. For example, this is for certain stainless steels, and at 400 Celsius, this is the line at 538, this is the line at 649, this is the line. This is the stress to rupture. So, if we are at a high temperature, creep will be fast, and at a lower stress we will fail. If we reduce the temperature, then we will need higher stress to fracture it, and if we reduce the temperature, we will need even higher stress, right. So, this is it. If the stress increases, the creep rate will be high. If the temperature increases, the creep rate will be high. So, the stress until which we want to go for creep rupture to happen will be low if the temperature is high, and this is the creep rate. Now, this is a brilliant equation. This is like based on the energy theory. You remember your thermodynamics and other things, the internal energy and so forth. So, how much, you see, when creep is there, there are two types of energies that we are adding to the system. One, we are loading the system under a stress, right. There is a stress for a long time. So, we are working on the system or increasing its internal energy. Second, we are increasing the temperature. So, because of the heat supplied to the system, we are increasing its energy. So, we are increasing the internal energy of the system by applying external stress or working on it, and by raising the temperature. So, if epsilon dot is the strain rate, right, creep is the strain rate, then there is a constant K2, okay. Sigma is the applied stress, N is a material constant, right, a stress exponent, it is a material constant. QC here is the activation energy for creep. Epsilon dot S is the creep rate, steady state creep rate, the creep rate in the straight line region, and QC is the activation energy for creep. R and T, you know, R is the standard gas constant, universal gas constant, and T, capital T, is the temperature, generally in kelvins and so on. So, if we can measure the amount of energy that is required to start creep at a certain given range and so on, so this equation is there. Maybe we will use this equation to do some calculations later on. So, this is the energy version, the thermodynamics version of creep. So, this was what we did last time, and let me start today's lecture. Actually, on the last slide I already started explaining. So, I wanted to come here that last time we just started having a quick look at secondary creep, but we wanted to discuss it more, but I have already done that longer discussion of secondary creep in terms of the activation energy and so on. So, creep failure, right, creep failure because of creep along the grain boundaries. What was the name, if you remember? Intergranular. If you can see, the failure is along the grain boundaries, it is not going from one grain to the other. So, applied stress is there, applied stress can increase, and it will create cavities and so on the grain boundaries, which will lead to fracture, right. Estimate the rupture time, we will do this later on, don't worry about it, we will do this whole thing later on. So, this equation and this detail is that if creep is happening, then can we find after how long under these given conditions there is a certain amount of stress that we are applying, and there is a certain amount of temperature at which it is heated. So, with this combination of stress and temperature, what will be the time to rupture? Rupture, you mean? No, rupture or fracture are the same words. So, when creep is there, it starts to affect, it starts to create small cracks and so on along the grain boundaries, and ultimately the thing ruptures, and it is a combined effect of applied stress and temperature. So, let us now go back to creep test. We will do the rupture and so on later on. Creep test determines the effect of temperature and stress on creep rate. Creep test is conducted using a tensile specimen to which a constant stress is applied, often by the simple method of suspending weights from it. Surrounding the specimen is in a thermostatically controlled furnace, temperature being controlled by a thermocouple attached to the gauge length, right. So, first we do not keep on increasing the load, we keep the load constant and we have it in a controlled furnace where the temperature is also kept constant. Then the extension of the specimen is measured by a very sensitive extensometer, since the actual amount of deformation before failure may be only 2 to 3%, and results of the test are then plotted on a graph of strain versus time to give whatever we need. So, schematically, right, schematically I have this, right, a schematic of a creep test. You have a tensile type of sample, either round or flat, and a constant force is applied here, not increasing tensile force of a constant nature, and this is like in a closed chamber where temperature can be there. So, there is a heating element and extension is measured over the gauge length, there is an extensometer. Now, this is a very high cost system, because this is like a tensile machine, but with a hermetically sealed temperature chamber first. So, the test that you do, the whole machine and so on, if it is at 100 Celsius, if it is at 200 Celsius, the machine should not be disturbed by that. Second, the extensometer is not a normal extensometer, because now it is a high temperature resistant extensometer, right. So, therefore, the tensile testing setup with a thermal chamber and a thermal chamber in such a way that the shaft and other thing and the load cells are not affected by it, and the extensometer is a special high temperature resistant extensometer. Once you do those calculations, then it is simple, then this is a strain with time. So, therefore, there is the initial primary creep region, the secondary creep region where the line is almost constant, and the tertiary creep region where suddenly there will be failure. So, all this is based on data from here, that the strain you are measuring with time, a strain with time, and that is it. So, this is the creep test. Why is the creep test done? To find the steady state creep rate, just the slope. The steady state creep rate is just the slope of this line. So, even if we do not record data very carefully here and very carefully there, we do not need to go there. Once we have enough data, so that we know that there is a very good straight line there, because we just need to find the slope of this curve. So, therefore, the creep test is not till failure, it is only till we get a good straight line region in the secondary creep. Metals are tested at constant stress at different temperatures, right. So, if you keep the stress constant, then at different temperatures, and if you keep the temperature constant, then at different stress levels, okay. And the creep curves are plotted. Minimum creep rate is the slope of the second stage, and creep strength of the material, creep strength, that was the minimum creep rate, which is the slope. Creep strength is stress to produce minimum creep rate of 10⁻⁵% per hour at a given temperature. So, creep strength of a material is defined at a specific temperature. Creep strength of the material will be different at different temperatures, just like yield strength and so on. Yield strength of a material at room temperature is always given, but yield strength at 100 degrees or yield strength at 200 degrees will be different than this.